Hi everyone. Okay, my name's Peter Nash. I'm a Safe Care lead. I manage Gate. Can you hear me if I walk away? No. Okay. I manage Gateshead Learning Disability Services. I kind of oversee them. When I sort of came into post, I did a review, if you like, of what we were doing about people with learning disabilities, particularly in relation to cancer screening and access to screening. And when I went through our own database, I found that actually we were quite poor at what we were doing. We had, if you like, so this is about bowel cancer, this project. We had 362 people on our project, within our database that were entitled to have bowel screening. Of those, only 72 people had had a conversation about bowel screening from our team and from other services. So I thought, well, what can we do? How can we go about changing that? So what can we do? How can we go about changing that? Because we know that 1 in 14 women, no, 16 women, and 1 in 14 men, sorry, and 1 in 19 women will at some point suffer from bowel cancer, have a diagnosis of bowel cancer. And we also know that people with a learning disability are a higher risk group, particularly because some of the conditions or activity, if you like, or lack of, that's associated with bowel cancer, such as obesity, poor diet, lack of exercise. So the aim of the project, if you like, was about improving access. We wanted to open doors that were closed, because we knew that for people with learning disabilities, the rate of screening was only 28.1% in comparison to 57.8% of the population. So we started to think about, well, what is it we can do? How can we go about improving access? Because, as we know, the longer you leave cancer, the bigger it gets. That's for any cancer that you have. And we wanted to have avoidable deaths. We didn't want the next person to die of cancer, if you like, bowel cancer, to be someone with a learning disability. So, what did we do? Okay, well, I arranged to meet with all the local cancer leads. I arranged to meet with the Northern Region Cancer Hub managers and leads as well. I met with family and carers groups, went to partnership boards, went to sub-health groups and health groups, and then also met with the person with the learning disabilities themselves. And we kind of formed a little project group, if you like, and we sat down and we looked at what needed to be changed. And one of the key things that came, if you like, was that if you can't explain it simply enough, then you don't understand it at all. And that was one of the key issues we found, that the way the system works with bowel cancer, and in fact, on the back of this project, some changes have been made, and I'll tell you about that, because that's improved from when we did this project. I reached the age of 60. I'm due what they call an FOB. And the National Cancer Screening Database will send me out a letter. Loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of words on it. And all I'm seeing is cancer this, cancer that, bowel screening for cancer, a very loaded word, cancer. But nothing about it for the individual with a learning disability who may not be able to comprehend some of the language within that letter. So what were they doing? They were just sticking it in the bin. What happens is that the system at that time didn't recognise, the national system didn't recognise that the individual they were sending a letter out to had a learning disability. The person themselves had to ring up the system, the local cancer screening hubs, and tell them they got a learning disability at the age of 59 or approaching 60, so they can get the right information sent to them in a user-friendly format. Many people with learning disabilities didn't even know what bowel screening was or what bowel cancer is. So, what we wanted to do, we wanted to make equal treatment. We wanted to close that gap. So as that group, we sat down and we looked at all the information that was sent out nationally. We looked at information that was available locally, and we set about changing it. And we spoke with local speech and language services, and we had it all adapted and formatted in a form that someone with a learning disability is likely to understand. We then took that information to learning disability groups, advocacy groups, and we took that through, and that came back with some changes, so we changed it again, and then we had the seal of approval, if you like, from the person with a learning disability themselves, saying that this was the sort of information that we would like to see, and this is what we would like to have, and this is what we would understand. So through collaborative working, if you like, building bridges with health focus groups, service users, regional cancer leads, local screening hospitals, community teams, and carers and families, we actually started to make a difference. On the back of that, what we also did, coexisting with that, if you like, was we did a lot of training for the learning disability team itself. We trained 56 staff, and that's occupational therapy, physiotherapy, no matter who it was. It didn't have to be the nurse that would go out and support someone to undertake a bowel screening kit. It could have been the physiotherapist. It doesn't matter. It's delivering that care at that time when that individual's of an age where they'd be entitled to bowel screening. So we trained everybody up, and we got people that we knew had already gone through the experience and had a poor experience, and some positive, come and talk to the team and talk to them about their experiences as well. And what that... Sorry, excuse me, because that's it, yeah, there you go. So what we started to do, we started to make what was first impossible possible. We now, at the beginning of the project, only 72 people out of those 300, I think it was 19 or 20 odd people, only had bowel screening discussed with them. At the beginning of the project, only 34 of those 72 had taken a bowel screening test. None were followed up. We didn't know whether any further action was required, and we didn't know if they were referred for further action because of occult bloods. And 38 people declined of those 72. So by changing the information, working collaboratively, involving people with a learning disability, their carers, their families, and all the relevant people in the networks to do with cancer, locally and regionally. The community team, once all trained up, they went out and we approached all those 300 plus people with a learning disability. We wrote to them, we went and spoke to their families, and at first it was 72, post-project if you like, and this project was 12 to 16 weeks long. Post-project, 193 people we reached. We managed to complete 117 bowel screening tests. We followed up 117 people. No further action we felt was for 99 of them, because through collaboratively working with the local cancer screen hubs, we were able to get a kind of information network going where that information would come back to us. We did it all through information governance. Of that, we found 18 people that had what they call occult blood in their stools at risk of cancer, or they may have had bowel cancer. In fact, we know 11 did after that, and we know of that 2 have sadly died since. But the rest have improved and are improving, I should say. Going back to that slide, avoidable deaths. Had we not taken on this project, there may have been 18 people that died and not 2. And we also had only a decline rate of 32 out of the 193 that we saw, purely because we did face-to-face contact. The staff knew how to talk to the individual with a learning disability, and they knew how to explain the information. And for those that were unable to consent, if you like, we were able to do best interest decisions. So I think one of the biggest things we did as well, difficult to see that, we met with all the practice leads, if you like, GP practice leads and some GP forums, and we managed to create a pathway. So like I said, when the letter comes out to me when I'm 60, if I don't respond after the second letter on the 14th week, that a letter then goes to the GP, says this lady, this gentleman hasn't had their bowel screening done. That gets put into the drawer. It's an administrative task until the person comes in maybe a week later, a year later, 2 years later, and it'll be raised again. What happens now is it goes in, if the person with a learning disability doesn't respond, it's an administrative task within the GP practice. Because we code all the people with a learning disability for the GP practices anyway, it comes to us straight away. And now we're aware of someone that's not responded, probably because the information isn't correct for them yet. But going back to the national system, what I'd like to say is that through working with Cancer UK as well, we've shown an interest in this, and also the Learning Disability Observatory and the IAL project down in Cornwall. The system now nationally is just about to change, and it's recognising everybody with a learning disability on that system so they get that information straight away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.